righty. So now that we have finished our focus table discussions, we're going to honor the first one. So now we want 3 tables who would like to share summary of their discussions to raise their hands. If you would like to share, okay, I see back here, one. These 2 definitely have to honor. They went first. We may have to do a tiebreaker for this last one. Let's go ahead and get started with these first 2 tables. Okay, for back here, who is going to report off for this table? This is Dr. Pearl Taylor. All right, Dr. Taylor, he's the very first men's program participant in December 2021. We have to acknowledge that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I don't normally go by titles, so my first name is Harold, and that's good enough. I can tell you that we had a robust discussion here, and we kind of broke it into 3 different categories. And the first one is education. Starts with an E, right? Education, that through this process, we have learned quite a bit. But what do we do with that information? We then have to go home, we have to practice it, we have to use it, and we have to share it with others. And so we asked other people to come in. And I think Mr. Graves and I at one time was the only 2 people in one of the meetings, from 2 to 180. So that shows progress. So that first E is education. The second E is engagement. Engagement. You are engaging right now. When you come in, when you sit, and when you discuss things, and you have what we call takeaways. For example, you could go home right now, and your wife could say, honey, well, she might say honey, but your wife could say, what did you talk about today? All right. Well, we talked about exercise and this kind of stuff. So you have to get it out there. And the last E is exercise. And we discussed here how great exercise is for a lot of things. And you don't have to even have a gym membership. It is great, those of you over 65, the Silver Slippers program. Sneakers. Okay, sneakers. Okay, I was a slipper, yeah. Okay. I'm thinking about Disney World, right? Okay. Okay, silver sneakers, okay. That's a good program. But some of us share some tips. All we do all the time is just walk. Example, when I came today, I didn't try to get a place right outside. Although I have a handicap sticker, I parked way over there so I could walk. I got some steps in and I can walk back. All right. Sometimes I just walk around the house doing nothing. Okay. But I'm getting the exercise in. So those are our 3 E's, if you want to remember them, education, engagement, and exercise. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're going over here to table 3. We're going to pray about this 3rd table, but right here we have Miss. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We had some very good conversation amongst ourselves at this table, and we broke it down in 3 categories as well. We talked about memory loss and some of the things that we can do to help our memory loss. And what we came up with, and everybody participated, so I want to thank you guys for your participation at this table. And we took everybody's information. The first thing we talked about, what do we do with memory loss? And what we came up was, some guys talked about crossword puzzles, using that as a way to keep your memory sharp. The other was mental exercises. Talked about chess, playing different types of mental games, things like that was important. Weekly exercise. Exercise is important. So we want to make sure we keep our bodies in shape the best we can. You can do the little things like walking, go to the gym. If not the gym, do something around the house, to help your sharpness. And the other thing we talked about was socialization, being able to stay engaged socially. Coming here is a great thing. I've been involved with this program now for about 1.5 years. I look forward to seeing the brothers come together. So that's important. church activities. Read a lot. Some people say reading is good. Keep the mind sharp. So we want to do that as well. Write stuff down. Be creative. That can help with memory. And the last thing is just stay active in terms of keeping that mind sharp. The second thing was research studies. Is that important to us? Yeah, it is important because one of the things that came up was the Tuskegee Airmen. Do we trust research? And we said we have to trust what we're doing here. I don't think if this was a different setting, maybe there would be a little doubt. But I trust the leadership here and the information that's given because people look like us. We got to trust ourselves. If we don't trust ourselves, who can we trust? So that's why it's important for us to engage in this research. I trust the research, and I think it's going to be very helpful long term for us as men and the people that come behind us. Not just for us, it's about the people that come behind us. And the third thing that we talked about was helping those that have dementia. We all know some people, older people in our family, that may have dementia. How can we support them? And I think it starts with understanding what those people are going through. A lot of times they don't understand what they're going through. By coming to this program, it's helped me better understand it. I have a sister that's 91 years old. She's experiencing dementia. I better understand how to deal with her now. Okay, she repeats things constantly. But understanding what she's going through has helped me better understand how to deal with that. Family support is very, very important. So if we learn things coming through these types of programs, put those types of things into action. And then the last thing I think we had here was this, the most important thing is showing family support, keeping a positive attitude, and really just trying to understand that person's journey. As we do that, we can better help those that are going through it. That's pretty much it.
That was really good. Good job. Okay. It came upon my spirit of how I'm going to do this. Because, gentlemen, Mr. Wilson is among the youngest in the room. I think we should allow the young to be able to speak. So I'm going to give it up for Mr.
All right, so basically, we shared the same sentiments as the other tables. One of the main things we pretty much had in common was a lot of the individuals in our families and loved ones suffered with this disease. And the main thing that we discussed pretty much was understanding that this is more of a medical issue and not a mental issue. So being proactive and having more information and being able to share that with your loved ones, it kind of breaks the stigma because in our community, we talked about the fears that we have as far as when it comes to research, when it comes to having information from medical advisors and things like that. So when you have more information, you can go to your doctor's appointments with something and then not just telling you all the information, that you'll be able to actually combat and give them feedback on what is actually going on, because they have to diagnose you based off the information that you tell them. So you can't just walk in there and think that they know everything because they don't know who you are. So that was the biggest thing that we talked about, you know, the stigmatism of it all, and just being more active, being more proactive when you have more information, when you're taking care of yourself. Like individuals my age, this isn't cool. It's not applicable yet. You know, I don't have memory loss issues. I don't have physical health issues. So as we do that, as I share with my friends what's going on now, then as we get older, we can be more proactive and it's less of an issue.
Good job. So that concludes this portion of our table sharing. So we are now going to have Dr. Antoine Trammell introduce our research panel discussion as we get ready to bring the program to an end.
Thank you, Crystal. All right, so while Marissa's doing that, I do want to share a few more things with you gentlemen. Last month, I presented this program to a funding group, and they funded it. So, yeah, Dr. Park and I have an idea for how we can bolster this. And with your input and support, it will get even better. So as we were making the presentation, I guess one of them was looking up Black physicians, MDs, in clinical care and research for Alzheimer's. And they said, we found 3, and 2 of them are sitting in the room. Yeah. Yeah. So someone mentioned from your table discussion that this is a family matter, right? You know, I introduced my son. I also want to let you know, because I don't want to hear it in the car. My daughter's back there helping too. We spent a lot of time last night making sure that she's in the Dr. Monica Parker uniform with the black dress and it's the right length. And, you know. But no, you're right, sir. It's important, Mr. Rupert, for our children to see what we do because this is definitely community. So on the note of family involvement, I did invite someone as my guest today who used to bring his uncle here, um, Reverend Kenneth Walker. Is my guest because he has such intimate experience with the work that we do here at the Brain Health Center from his uncle, Reverend Walker. He told me walking into this building made him a little emotional. His uncle passed. Was it Christmas Eve? The day before Thanksgiving. So I appreciate you coming and making that journey. I hope that things came full circle for you today, sir. He's also one of my esteemed brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha. That's a really weak applause. Come on now. Okay. All right. You forget. Oh, my. Well, thank you. I appreciate your forgiveness. Just keep coming back. All right. So we're going to have our research participant discussion with Mr. Kirk and Mr. Turnbow. So please come on up, sir. I'm sorry, is it Douglas? Is it Mr. Douglas or Mr. Mason? I apologize. Mr. Mason and Mr. Turnbow. So if you don't say what now? Turnbow. I'm just all messed up today. All right. So gentlemen, just share a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Take one. I'm Rick Turnbow. A lot of you have seen me here. I've been here going on at least 2 years, maybe a little longer, and have learned immensely from this program. I'm 75 years old. I'm from a family of 10. I could take you all back to that history, but I'm not going to do it. I don't have enough time. I have 3 children, 2 boys, 1 girl. I have 3 grandchildren, 2 boys and a girl. So the things that I'm doing in my life totally affect him. My son is here, and so he's aware of things. I got turned on to the program by a brochure that came through the mail, and my better half told me to act on it. Well, why don't you? And she's the one that let me know that something's wrong with you. And she could tell me that because we've been together over 50 years, and so she sees that. And so I'm here at this program and have listened to what the research is all about. I've gone through the initial procedures of having an MRI, having the lumbar spinal tap, and the cognitive awareness test, have blood exam, and all of that. And it's good stuff to know. It's like having your blood checked in order to know what's going on in your body. And I think it's important to go through that phase so that you know what's inside. And that's why I'm here, and to be able to pass that information on to my people I work with at my job, they call me granddaddy because there's a lot of young people there. And they say, you're so smart, you know, because my wife was smart and she told me to do smart things. So now I'm smart. And, you know, I take advantage of smart people around me. I'm not the smartest person, but I'm not the dummy that's going to refuse to take on knowledge. And that's what I'm glad to be here, taking on a lot of knowledge and information. And it's through knowledge and experience that you learn to overcome the fear. And I had something here that says, I don't know what it says because I ain't got my glasses on. No, come on now, I didn't do that. Yeah, I got a little bit, just a little bit. So I had here just to keep things in the acronym stage. I have EKU, TBA, experience, that's life, knowledge, knowledge that you answer all of your who, what, when, why, where, and how questions. Understanding, understanding, I say, was the most difficult part because it requires brain power and you have to have an open mind about things. And so understanding is a really difficult one. But once you get to understanding, then you have that trust, and that comes from inside after the knowledge, and it's just kind of within your spirit. So I call it spiritual. And then with that trust, then it becomes your belief, your identity, who you are, your belief. And then after that, another difficult part, to act, to have the courage to act on your belief. And that's after all my notes I had, that's what I came out with. Simple.
All right. I'll try to be briefer, but I got something to read as well, so we came prepared. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I am beyond humbled. Greg Mason's my name. I've been coming since April of 2023. This has been a godsend to me. The Saturday before I came for the first meeting, our family had to make the decision to put my mother in hospice care. And on the 20th of April, she passed, she transitioned. So this has been a godsend to me. Literally, you don't know how much you blessed me by allowing me to be here. I jumped in with both feet. I've invited dozens of friends. The gentleman you just heard speak from my table, Hartley Cooper, I get the blessing of being with him every month and fellowshipping. Both our wives encourage us to come, and I call it the force multiplier. They're excited that we're together and we get a chance to fellowship. And had it not been for this, and we've lived busy lives, I probably would not have had the opportunity to fellowship with them as much. I've been in Georgia for 45 years, born and raised Wilmington, Delaware, graduated from Morris Brown, where I met my lovely wife. This time next month, it'll be 36 years. I have a son, 2 adult children, a son and a daughter. And just last month, my daughter got married and announced that they're having twins. So my life is. But again, I jumped in with both feet. I had no problem with any of the process. I strongly encourage anybody who can participate in any aspect. When they put me in the MRI, you could let me rest for 5 minutes. I'm going to sleep. It was a power nap for me. No problem with the lumbar puncture. No, I think I asked the lady or said to her, "When are you going to start?" She said, "Oh, we're done." So it went smooth. I know our purpose here today is to encourage more people to participate. Why I did it was not so much for me, and you heard it from somebody else. It's for my son. It's for my son's son. It's for a future generation. I'm in it until you put me out.
You're good. We're going to keep you. So, Mr. Turnbow, if I recall, I think I did your Spinal Tap. You know, I thought I did a really good job too.
I think you did an excellent, you did an excellent job.
And then he goes, "You could have told me the steps." Okay. I'm like, that's great. I appreciate the feedback because it's about humility. Gentlemen, if you could tell our august colleagues here, what is your reflection on research now that you have been in some of our studies as opposed to before? Because I think that perspective can help people make important decisions about research participation. Tuskegee often comes up, and I want you to realize that you're in a room with an investigator, someone who leads studies, right? I'm not here to hurt my community. A lot of underrepresented Black American populations don't participate in research, not because of trust, but because they're not asked. The opportunity is never presented. So by being here, you are in fact empowering yourself to take that step. Anyway, so before and after, what is your what would you share about research?
Well, initially, I could say that I wasn't. I had no idea about being involved in any type of research, except for some of the simpler ones that came through Emory about a sleep study or something like that. But nothing that I felt was interesting me that I was dealing with. So once we get past the phase of having issues about not being able to leap tall buildings in a single bound and can't run faster than a speeding bullet and not more powerful than a locomotive. Once we lose that Superman image of ourselves, then we start looking at ourselves with our weaknesses. And it's hard for us men to see those weaknesses. A lot of times other people have to point them out. So the memory part, when my wife told me that I think you're forgetting a little too much. And after I took my gloves off and started listening better and internalizing, then I said, well, maybe this research thing might be something I want to try out. But initially, I had no thoughts about being in a research, and it just so happens that the brochure came along when I needed it, and I said, okay, I'm not one to have a fear. I'm military trained. I'm from a family of 10. And it's you learn to. For me, I didn't have the fears. I had to do or not. So being involved with the program, the military already got me vaccinated, all kind of shots that if you're trying to go out of country, some of you military guys, you know that. So I didn't have any fear of being tested or taking a shot that I didn't know what was in it. Someone just told me, if you're going to Africa, you need to take this. If you're going to Korea, you need to take this shot. Make sure that you can survive and come back from the ills that you're going to face in those areas. And I didn't ask questions in the military when I came through. You didn't ask a hell of a lot of questions, but you used your eyes and your knowledge, and those things help you to get over your fears and your being being afraid to take the step. Apprehensive, that's the word I was looking for. And once you get that, you have life experience, but life experience don't tell you everything. You got to have that knowledge. And once you start digesting that knowledge, you have to have an understanding of what it is. It's because a whole lot of knowledge don't mean nothing if you don't quite understand it. And then when you understand it, it becomes a part of you. And so that's what I wanted to be a part of with the program, in that it's going to tell me more about myself than I know that I can't figure out on my own. So when they start saying we're going to take something out of your spine, we're going to draw your blood, we're going to do your MRI, and then they said earlier that stuff is expensive, and they give it to me free. I said, I'll take that. I'll do that. I'm not afraid to have my body tested, to know what's going on in it. And I feel like I'm going to come out to the better than not. I don't want to sit around and say, oh, damn, something hit me. And you don't know what it is until it's too late. And I don't want to be on the late side of it.
Yeah, similar, I didn't have any reservations. When I came the first time, the doctor who spoke was my urologist, so that was encouraging. When I came the second time, the doctor who spoke was Dr. Flowers, formerly my wife's doctor. So just seeing people who I know I can identify and being able to have sidebar conversation with them was pretty important. But honestly, when I met Crystal, when I met Dr. Parker, and the advocacy they had for us, I'm like, well, how do I help? It's not about me. I mean, I've had 63 good years, a rich life. How might someone else benefit from it? So, reservation, there was no reservation. It was, again, a good nap and a MRI. And the other thing that I wouldn't call it a question, but I wanted to get clarity on. Okay, if you find something, how's that conversation going to go? Dr. Parker assured me, oh no, we're just not going to tell you and leave you off to the wind. We're going to sit down with you. We're going to have a conversation with your physician. We're going to make sure you get this test and that test. I said, so in essence, I got an advocacy group with me, behind me, alongside of me. As a result of being in this program, I've now selected or been blessed enough to select another specialist that I go to, an eye specialist. As a result of this program, I've changed my primary care physician because of Dr. Flowers saying, ask these questions. If you're not getting an answer, you may need to consider it. Well, I took that step. So it was not fear. It was more, I was being empowered. So I took something and used that empowerment, if you will.
Empowerment is the theme of today. One thing I heard both of you share very subtly is that our experiences can shape our attitudes and how we approach life. But it's important to be open to new experiences and acquire new knowledge to move and navigate life successfully. If you were here a few years ago when I gave a talk about men's health in the holidays, there's just a few. So in that presentation, I showed two maps. One was a census map of the Southeast from 1860. There were dark areas that showed the population of enslaved people, right? Then I overlaid it with a map from 2016 of mortality, right? It was highest in the Southeast. Can you imagine where the highest mortality was in 2016 as compared to the census map from 1860? It was in the same counties that had the highest concentration or the highest population of African slaves. And my point in bringing that up is when Mr. Turnbow talked about his experiences, I thought of that, how experiences shape our attitudes in life. And it's important for us to be able to reshape and reshift those experiences, because what informs your truth? Your experiences. So how do you come to a new truth? You gain new experiences. Right. I think do we have enough time for Q&A today? A couple of questions? Okay. Anyone want to ask? Do we have any, what am I talking about? We always have questions in here.
Chef Jarvis is going to move out of the room.
So, you're okay, sir.
Yeah, a question for my dad. All right. Dad,
That's right.
What's the combination to the second?
Hold on, it might get a little hot. I have flashbacks when I was young. Dad, we were sitting here at the table, and honestly, I just have to say, thank you, Crystal, and thank you all for this opportunity. This is amazing. I wish PBS was here with some documentary or something, so we could watch this thing grow on television. That's not a plug, but you know, because we need something like that. But Dad, I had a question for you. You had talked about Uncle Red and Uncle Jesse, your brothers, having dementia at the end of their lives. And Uncle Red was a professional boxer, boxed with Ali, Foreman, and others. Uncle Jesse, your younger brother, played NFL football and defensive, defense on the D line. And the bigger thing to me is I never heard of any of that. You never communicated to me dementia or anything like that. And even when we talked, like even today, when I told you you didn't remind me of the meeting here, where's that communication? Why is there a lack of communication, I guess? Because, I'm a teacher and I absorb a lot of information, but why is there a lack of communication on this?
That's a good question, interesting question. Me personally, and I can't speak for everybody, but I play a different role in my family life, and it's complete with a wife and children and whatnot. So I find myself standing back when the wife is in charge, sharing her knowledge and information, and they do that gracefully from infancy as they get older. So I had to wait, and I found myself waiting and holding my conversation, holding my thoughts. And some of us may experience the same thing, and you end up tabling those thoughts internally, and they don't always come out. And when somebody asks you something, you may say, "Hey, I never heard you say that." Well, for me, I hold things in because I've taken the back seat to not just my wife, to other people. I always like to hear first. I'm a listener. I listen first and then see what my response is going to be, if I'm going to have any at all. So if I was short on giving you information, then I apologize for that. But at the same time, we have 2.5, 3 hour conversation on the phone almost weekly. So, you could pick my brain, and I never been apologetic about anything that I was exposed to when I was raised. And I think that's critical for sharing the way you were raised, sharing that information with your siblings, sharing it with your offspring, sharing with those people who can benefit from what maybe your health issues were, what maybe your knowledge and extensive understanding of life is all about. With all that great experience, I could feel the experience in this place. But we've gone through so doggone much. And having said that, if we don't write our own narrative, then someone else is going to write it for us. And we're in the position now with this program to kind of write our narrative and get out of the belief that Tuskegee has to last forever. We live in this man's society, and we've aged and learned how to benefit in this man's society without the fears. We've overcome the fears. And so I really I can't take a needle. Sure you can. You've taken hits from your wife and your girlfriends and anybody else in the street. That little pinch is not going to disturb you.
Amen.
So, fear, the final act of my little acronym is ACT. You have to act, but you have to have courage to act. If you know that you need to do something, but you don't have the courage to do it because, I'm scared, well, guess what? You don't do nothing. But you know what? Doing nothing is something. So I say nothing is a no word.
While you're on that topic, I want to just add to that because I just found out yesterday that my mother has had arthritis for 20 years. And as a chef, my hands have been cramping up, my feet have been cramping up. And to your son's point, I've asked her, I go down the checklist at the hospital, at the doctor, and I say, nope, nope, no, arthritis, all of this stuff, just nope, 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 down the list. And the doctors haven't been able to figure out what's going on with my hands. But just during a conversation yesterday, my mom finally came out and said, oh yeah, I've been told you I had arthritis. I'm like, no, you didn't. So it's not just a you to him situation. I want to make that clear. That question was a direct, but it was a very broad question because there are a lot of people experiencing the same thing. And hopefully in the very near future, we'll have some type of remedy to get everyone's information down on one piece of paper so that we can progress as a culture and community.
Yes, my name is Larry Coleman. My second time here, but one thing I wanted to get out is, as we talk in our group, communication. You know, talking with your doctors, having a interaction back and forth, not just going to the doctor, listening to the doctor, and going home, but staying engaged. A way to talk to our doctors. Can you maybe include that in the future of communication with your doctor, being comfortable, you know, to do that? Because we definitely need to have a communication with our doctors and our teams of doctors.
Good point.
Brief. We can keep it brief, then we'll do one final question. All right, sir. And as I walk over here,
I got one over here, Doc.
he raised his hand.
Which one? He had a question. I agreed to him a couple minutes ago.
Okay.
Keep it brief so we can try to speak.
If we keep it brief, then we'll squeeze both of you.
It's real brief to the two gentlemen on the table. Will you elaborate about your cognitive testing? How did you feel about that? How did it help you? Because I remember I've had 2 epidurals, excuse me, and the MRIs. Cognitive testing to me was great, but you know, it kind of hit me. Whereas I knew that when she said like, "Can you remember A, B, C, and D?" and I could, but then about 10 minutes later, I knew certain things, so I was able to get 4 or 5 of them right. But kind of elaborate on that.
Mr. Samuel at my table raised that same concern, and it kind of startled me because I didn't understand that he was more afraid of that. That caused him more stress. If I can get it right, he gave him more stress that to see memory tested right there in front of him, and the sense of failure. And with my tester, and I hope I'm not telling on her, but I said, "How did I do?" She, "Oh, you did well." She write it down. I said, "How did I really do?" "You did good." Until I pressed it hard enough to say, "Well, you are in good range. Yeah, you didn't forget it. You didn't forget everything, and you didn't remember everything, but you're in good range." So it is scary to see that. And I'm sitting there testing. I know I'm going to remember this number. I know I'm going to. I know I'm going to. I know what. And then that was my experience.
Well, I would echo that. The cognitive test bothered me a little more than the other because I knew I blew it and said, well, I did my best and moved on to the next.
All right. Thank you, Jim. We have our final question here.
It's just a comment. We thank you again, gentlemen, for your comments and the affirmation, because we had a brother at our table who still is kind of hesitant about Tuskegee, and he's doing these things. So I appreciate the affirmation that you give, first of all. But as one of the brothers pointed out here as well, family history is so important. When you go to the doctor and they're trying to, check off things, and you don't know, you haven't had that conversation, you have to ask, do you suffer from this? How do these people happen? And do they have these kind of diseases? So I appreciate that, because that's one of the things that we can benefit from by knowing the history of what our grandfathers or great grandfathers might have died from, if you have that kind of information there. So we thank you, and don't be afraid to share and open it up to us. Okay, we need that.
Well, let me say this one thing. Throughout this experience, I began to journal my journey. And it's because of that brother right there with the hat on, I'm going to get you to raise your hand, who told me that he had over 200 and something pages specifically of his family medical history. it's caused me to journal, not necessarily medical history, but points in my life that hopefully one day that grandchild will find interesting.
That's a beautiful thing. And I can only imagine if your kids, if you could extend your kids' life by sharing some basic things with them, would you do it? And I think everybody's answer is yes. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well, don't go anywhere just yet. So Mr. John Lewis is going to come. As you know, we always encourage movement and action, right? So as we transition to Mr. Lewis, for my closing remarks, I want to share one of the lessons that I've learned with you from my spiritual traditions, that action is important, right? But we're not done yet, gentlemen. So come on up, Mr. Lewis. Action is important. And there are words in scripture that say, let there be light, and then creation occurred. And what I take from that is it's important that your words be words of power in your life. That if you are only talking and there's no action, then nothing is happening. And that's no way to go. All right. Mr. Lewis, thank you.